Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a world where nothing seems impossible. Globe showing Europe, Africa, across the planet. Humanity is building on a scale never seen before. Cities rising from empty deserts, bridges stretching across vast oceans, and skyscrapers climbing so high they disappear into the clouds. These are not just construction projects. They are bold statements of ambition, pushing engineering and technology to their absolute limits. Behind every towering structure and every mile of steel and concrete is a story of vision, risk, and determination. In this video, we're exploring the most astonishing mega projects on Earth, creations so massive and so daring that they've shocked the world. There are engineering solutions so counterintuitive that when you first encounter them, you genuinely believe someone is joking. The Velamir Aqueduct in the Netherlands is that kind of engineering solution. You are driving along a normal road. The road continues in a straight line. And above you, not a bridge, not an overpass, not a tunnel, but a lake. An actual lake with actual boats sailing across it, separated from your windshield by approximately 6 feet of concrete and more than 10 million gallons of water pressing down with every intention of being heavier than the structure containing it. The concept is called an aqueduct. Water is carried in a raised trough over the road beneath it, rather than the road being carried over the water. In theory, it is a completely rational response to a geographic problem. The Netherlands has more water than it knows what to do with, and sometimes that water needs to be in a place that a road also needs to be in. The solution is to decide which one goes over and which one goes under, and in the case of Velamir, the lake won. But the execution of this concept, experienced from the driver's seat of a vehicle passing through it, is significantly more unsettling than the engineering theory suggests. The aqueduct channel is narrow. The road beneath it is narrow. The walls containing the lake rise on both sides of the channel, and those walls are under constant, enormous hydraulic pressure from the water on the other side. As a driver, you are in a confined corridor. There is no emergency exit. There is no alternative route if something goes wrong. There is only the road ahead, the water on both sides barely contained by those 6-foot concrete walls, and the awareness, once you start thinking about it, very difficult to stop, that the entire structural arrangement you are dependent on has exactly zero margin for error. Engineers will tell you correctly that this structure is extraordinarily safe. The concrete specifications are among the most demanding ever applied to a road-water intersection project. The hydraulic calculations were verified and re-verified. The structure has operated without incident since its opening. All of this is true. But the human brain does not navigate the Velamir Aqueduct by consulting engineering specifications. It navigates by raw sensory input, and the raw sensory input of driving under a lake is not something evolution has prepared us for. The slight visual distortion of the water above, the narrowness of the passage, the total absence of escape routes, the sound of your own vehicle bouncing back off the wet concrete walls, the near cancellation of the project when early calculations suggested the concrete base might permanently deform under sustained hydraulic pressure. That last detail, which the engineers resolved successfully, has a way of making the crossing feel slightly less routine once you know it. The Netherlands built this. Of course they did. A country that exists largely because of its refusal to accept the natural relationship between land and water. A country that has reclaimed enormous territories from the sea through sheer engineering willpower would build a road that goes under a lake. It is, in a very Dutch way, the most sensible possible answer to the question. It is also, in the most universal human way, completely insane. 7-Mile Bridge, Florida, USA. There are drives you remember for their scenery. There are drives you remember for their speed. And then there are drives you remember because you spent the entire duration unable to fully suppress the awareness that the entire road beneath your vehicle was surrounded by open ocean on both sides. With nothing between you and deep water but a concrete barrier roughly waist-high and a pre-stressed concrete structure that was designed, however confidently, by people who could not have fully anticipated everything the Atlantic Ocean would eventually decide to do to it. 7-Mile Bridge crosses the water between Knights Key and Little Duck Key in the Florida Keys, forming one of the most celebrated and most viscerally unsettling stretches of the overseas highway. The numbers are direct, approximately 7 miles long, carrying US 1 above shallow tropical water that sits, on average, about 18 feet below the roadway surface. 18 feet, not 1,800, 18. When conditions are normal, this gap seems reasonable. When a Category 4 hurricane is pushing water across the Florida Straits toward the road you are on, the 18-foot clearance between road surface and ocean surface becomes a measurement you would very much prefer to have been larger. The current 7-Mile Bridge replaced an earlier structure, the original Flagler Railroad Bridge, built in 1912 as part of Henry Flagler's extraordinary, some would say delusional, plan to extend a railroad to Key West across the open ocean. That original structure was damaged beyond repair by the Labor Day hurricane of 1935, one of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded, and eventually adapted into the road bridge that served the Keys until the current structure was opened in 1982. The current version is built to modern standards with significantly improved load capacity, modern safety features, and structural engineering informed by the complete failure of its predecessor in extreme weather conditions. But modern standards and Atlantic hurricanes exist in an ongoing negotiation. Hurricane Katrina damaged sections of the bridge. Later storms have deposited debris on the roadway and temporarily closed it. The Keys sit in one of the most active hurricane corridors in the Western Hemisphere, and the bridges connecting them, including 7 Mile, the longest, must absorb this reality and continue functioning anyway. They do. But the record of what Atlantic weather has done to structures in this corridor over the past century and more makes every crossing feel like a transaction. The Atlantic accepts you this time and reserves the right to revisit the terms later. The drive itself is among the most photographically celebrated in America. The low horizon lined the impossibly blue-green water. The sense of the road simply extending into the ocean without beginning or end. These qualities have made 7-Mile Bridge a reliable location for film crews and travel photographers, and anyone who needs a visual metaphor for both freedom and exposure. The old bridge, no longer used for traffic, runs parallel to the new one as a fishing pier and walking path, a reminder for anyone who needs one that the structure you are trusting was not the first attempt and may not be the last. There is a stretch of open water between the Tsing Yi and Ma Wan Islands in Hong Kong, where the geography demands a crossing that most bridge engineers would look at and immediately ask for additional budget. Typhoon-force winds, heavy maritime traffic from one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Seismic activity from a region sitting above complex tectonic geology. A marine environment that corrodes steel with casual efficiency. And all of this to be navigated by a single structure carrying both road traffic on its upper deck and railway traffic, the Airport Express on its lower deck, simultaneously in all weather conditions without interruption. The Tingmar Bridge answered this challenge with a span of 4,518 feet between its towers, the seventh longest suspension bridge span in the world at the time of its completion in 1997. Its towers rise 675 feet above sea level. The total steel cable used in its construction approaches 60 miles, a figure that becomes meaningful when you understand that those cables must maintain tensile stability under wind loads generated by direct Pacific typhoon strikes. The bridge is designed to carry typhoon-speed winds, not to shelter from them. To carry them, to absorb the force of them through its cable geometry and structural mass, and to continue functioning without interruption. The lower deck of Tingmar is enclosed on its sides, a rare design feature specifically intended to allow rail and road traffic to continue operating during weather conditions that would make an open deck dangerous. When Typhoon Mangkhut struck Hong Kong in 2018, with sustained winds exceeding 120 miles per hour, vehicles were diverted to the enclosed lower deck and continued crossing. The bridge did not close, it adapted. Because its design anticipated exactly this scenario and engineered around it rather than simply hoping for the best. Below the bridge, the shipping lane it spans carries vessels of extraordinary scale. Cargo ships weighing over 300,000 tons, vessels whose upper structures approach the height of office buildings, pass directly beneath the Tingmar deck. The clearance between the waterline and the bridge deck is approximately 197 feet, high enough for these maritime giants to pass while, above them, vehicles travel at highway speed across the suspended roadway. When one of these massive ships transits beneath the bridge, the deck vibration is detectable. Drivers feel it, a prolonged low-frequency trembling that communicates, in the most direct physical way possible, that the ground beneath them is not, in fact, ground. It is steel and cable suspended above 65 feet of open water and active shipping traffic. The trembling is real. The reminder is valuable. The foundation conditions beneath Tingmar were characterized by the engineers responsible for the project as among the most challenging encountered in major suspension bridge construction. Deep water, complex seabed geology, and exposure to active meteorological and seismic forces all compressed into a single site. The foundations were anchored into bedrock through multiple soil layers in a marine environment where site access was itself a significant logistical problem. But the structure not only succeeded, but has now operated without major incident for nearly 3 decades, through repeated typhoon strikes and millions of crossings, is a demonstration of what concentrated engineering expertise applied to a genuinely difficult problem is capable of achieving. In 2018, China opened a bridge that rendered the concept of geographic separation between 3 major cities, Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau, largely theoretical. The Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, at approximately 34 miles from end to end, is the longest sea-crossing infrastructure project ever built. The number of superlatives associated with this structure is itself superlative: longest, most expensive, most complex, most ambitious. The cost exceeded $20 billion. Construction began in 2009, and the project required 9 years to complete. At least 10 workers died during construction, and hundreds were injured, numbers that should not be mentioned as minor details, because they represent the human cost of building in one of the most demanding marine environments in the world. The structure is not purely a bridge. To preserve the shipping lanes of one of the world's most heavily trafficked deepwater channels, the Lingdingyang, through which the largest cargo vessels in the world pass regularly, the crossing includes an immersed tunnel approximately 4 miles long, buried beneath the seabed. Drivers traveling the full length of the crossing descend below the ocean surface, travel through the tunnel, and then re-emerge onto the bridge deck on the other side. The transition from bridge to tunnel and back again is engineered around a pair of artificial islands. Built specifically for this purpose in the middle of the bay, islands that did not exist before the project began and now function as critical nodes in the infrastructure of the Pearl River Delta. The visual experience of driving this crossing defies conventional bridge navigation. The water of the Pearl River estuary extends to the horizon on both sides of the bridge deck. The sky is immense. The horizon is unbroken. The columns carrying the bridge deck appear at regular intervals and then fall behind you, each one identical to the last, the repetition accumulating into a sense of deep exposure that simple photographs do not fully communicate. You are not driving across a river. you are driving across the sea. For miles, in both directions, with nothing but open water marking the distance you have come and the distance you have yet to go. The construction controversies and fatalities associated with this project, combined with the scale of the engineering ambition it represents, make the Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge one of the most complex objects in this list to hold in proper perspective. It is an extraordinary achievement. And it was built at a price, in money, in time, in human life, that reflects the full weight of what extraordinary achievement actually costs. The name Deception Pass comes from an 18th century navigation era. Captain George Vancouver, surveying the Pacific Northwest coast in 1792, initially believed that Fidalgo Island was connected to the mainland and bypassed the narrow strait. When he later returned and found it was in fact a pass between islands, he named it for the deception it had presented. The geological features that created the confusion, the narrowness of the strait, the surrounding vegetation. The way the rock formations close around the water are the same features that make the bridge crossing of this pass one of the most dramatic short bridge experiences anywhere in the American West. The Deception Pass Bridge, completed in 1935, consists of two spans connecting three landmasses: Fidalgo Island, Pass Island, and Whidbey Island. The northern span crosses the main channel of Deception Pass at a height of approximately 180 feet above the water, a body of water that is not merely picturesque, but actively dangerous to navigation. The tidal currents through the narrow strait can exceed 8 knots, creating whirlpools, standing waves, and hydraulic features that have claimed boats and, historically, lives. The water in the pass appears to be in constant, agitated motion, a visible reminder that what lies below the bridge is not still water, but a marine system under significant continuous pressure. The bridge's steel arch structure carries 2 lanes of Washington State Highway 20 between the islands, with a pedestrian walkway adjacent to the traffic lanes. Walking the pedestrian path, looking down from 180 feet onto the turbulent water in the pass, watching the tidal current move against the rock walls of the narrow channel, hearing the Pacific wind come through the strait from the west, is an experience of genuine physical immediacy. The steel vibrates, not alarmingly, not in any way that suggests structural concern, but in the way that all large steel structures vibrate when wind and traffic loads are applied simultaneously. The vibration comes through your feet and your hands and establishes, continuously, the fact that you are not on solid ground. You are on a structure in motion, above water in motion, in a marine environment that was moving long before the bridge arrived and will continue moving long after it is gone. The bridge was built in only a few months, opening on July 31, 1935, at a cost of approximately $482,000, a remarkable pace and economy even by Depression-era standards. The speed of construction reflected both the engineering confidence of the era's bridge builders and the practical pressure to connect Whidbey Island to the mainland in a way that the ferry system had long failed to achieve reliably. 80 years later, the bridge still stands, still carries the highway, and still provides the same experience of vertical exposure above fast water that it offered to the first pedestrians who crossed it in the summer of 1935. There is a point, approximately halfway across the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway in Louisiana, where land disappears entirely, not fades, not recedes into the distance, disappears. In both directions, behind you and ahead of you, the bridge extends to a horizon line beyond which there is nothing but sky and water. The road continues, obviously, because you are on it, and it continues in both directions, obviously, because you arrived from somewhere and are going somewhere. But the visual evidence for these propositions is entirely absent. You are, by every available sensory measure, in the middle of a lake, on a road, surrounded by water, with no land in sight. The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway consists of two parallel bridges spanning approximately 24 miles across the lake that separates the New Orleans metropolitan area from the North Shore communities. The first span opened in 1956, at the time, the longest bridge over water in the world. The second, parallel span, opened in 1969. Together, they carry approximately 40,000 vehicles per day, making them among the most heavily used long-distance water bridges in the United States. Guinness World Records recognized the causeway as the longest continuous bridge over water in 2011, though this designation has been subject to definitional debate based on how continuous and over water are operationalized. The structural system is deliberate in its simplicity. Precast concrete sections resting on concrete piers extending in a straight line across the lake without curves or significant grade changes. The design was chosen for durability and ease of maintenance. The brackish water of Lake Pontchartrain is aggressive to concrete and steel, and the straightforward structural approach minimizes the number of maintenance-intensive connection points. The bridge crosses the lake at a height of approximately 16 feet above the water surface, not high by bridge standards, but sufficient for the recreational watercraft that use the lake. Hurricane Katrina, in August 2005, tested the causeway in ways that its designers had not fully anticipated. Storm surge and wave action damaged sections of the bridge, a reminder that a 24-mile structure in a hurricane-prone coastal environment is not simply an engineering problem, but a meteorological one. The causeway survived, largely intact, while much of the surrounding infrastructure was catastrophically damaged. Repairs were completed and the structure returned to service, but the event established that the lake it crosses is not the benign body of water that its normally still, brown surface suggests. Under the right meteorological conditions, Lake Pontchartrain can become, briefly, something more demanding. Building anything on the peak of Gunung Machincang on the island of Langkawi, Malaysia, presents a set of logistical challenges that begin with the mountain's topography and escalate from there. The slopes are steep, densely forested with vegetation that has been growing continuously since the Permian period, roughly 550 million years ago, making the granite rock of Machincang among the oldest exposed rock in Southeast Asia. There are no roads to the summit. There is no flat ground for construction staging. The only access is by gondola cable car, and the gondola cannot carry the kinds of loads that conventional construction equipment requires. So when engineers and construction crews set out to build the Langkawi Sky Bridge in 2004, they solved the access problem in a way that became as remarkable as the bridge itself. They transporting the structural components by helicopter. Section by section, cable by cable, panel by panel, the materials for a 410-foot curved pedestrian bridge were flown to the mountain peak by helicopter crews executing precision lifts above terrain that is actively hostile to the operation. The construction process, which was remarkable enough to be documented separately from the bridge itself, is a testimony to the lengths human ambition will travel to place a structure precisely where it wants to be. The bridge, in its completed form, is an S-curve of steel suspended from a single 80-meter pylon that leans away from the bridge at an angle, a dramatic structural expression that makes the bridge look, from certain viewpoints, as though it is defying rather than obeying gravity. The pylon and its anchor cables carry the entire load of the 200-ton bridge deck, cantilevering it from a single point in a way that conventional suspension bridge geometry does not. The result is visually extraordinary, a curved bridge hovering over ancient rainforest attached to one visible point, the far end apparently unsupported. At over 2,000 feet above sea level, the Langkawi Sky Bridge offers views that encompass the full island and extend to the Thai mainland on clear days. The Andaman Sea spreads to the horizon in multiple directions. The forest below, ancient beyond comprehension, continuous across steep slopes that have never been cleared for cultivation, creates a green carpet interrupted only by occasional rock faces and the cable car infrastructure of the gondola system. The glass floor panels built into sections of the bridge deck allow direct views down through the forest canopy to the mountain slope below, adding a vertical dimension to the experience that the horizontal panorama alone would not provide. Below everything, rock that was old before complex life existed on this planet. Above it, a steel bridge, positioned there by helicopter, resting on 550 million-year-old granite, offering visitors the experience of standing above one of the oldest land surfaces on Earth. The juxtaposition is not incidental. It is the entire meaning of the structure. There is a category of engineering record that measures not the size of a thing, but the speed of a thing, not how large a structure was built, but how fast it was assembled. The Lupu Bridge across the Huangpu River in Shanghai holds a record in this category, the assembly of its main steel arch, a span of 550 meters. The longest steel arch bridge span in the world at the time of its completion in 2003 was completed using a hydraulic lifting system that raised the final central sections into position in approximately 70 minutes, not 70 days, not 70 hours. 70 minutes, in which 550 meters of steel arch was joined and tensioned and made complete above one of the most heavily trafficked inland shipping corridors in the world. The Lupu Arch carries 6 lanes of road traffic at a deck height sufficient for the large vessels that use the Huangpu. There are no piers in the river. The arch, as with all true arch bridges, transfers its load entirely through compression into the abutments at both riverbanks, leaving the 550-meter span below completely clear. This is an engineering commitment. No intermediate supports means the structure is in a state of constant, fully distributed maximum stress. Every vehicle on the bridge contributes to the total load carried by the arch. Every thermal cycle, the expansion and contraction of steel across Shanghai's seasonal temperature range, adds stress cycles to the arch material. The arch is not merely holding still. It is working continuously under the full weight of its commitment. The Lupu Bridge has a pedestrian access to the top of the arch, a stairway that climbs from bridge deck level to the arch crown, approximately 105 meters above the Huangpu. From the top of the arch, the river, the city, and the adjacent Nanpu Bridge spiral ramp are all visible in a panorama that, on clear days, extends to the entire Pudong skyline. Standing at the arch crown, the width of the river and the density of the city surrounding it communicate the full scale of the engineering challenge that the Lupu was built to address. And the knowledge that you are standing on the highest point of 550 meters of steel arch that was raised to this position in 70 minutes, above a river where cargo vessels pass 100 meters below your feet, is not abstract. It is immediate, vertical, and real. This is the foundational premise of bridge design. The structure exists to span a gap that cannot otherwise be crossed. The Twist, opened in 2019 at the Kistifos Museum in Jevnaker, Norway, crosses a river. That function is real, but describing the Twist solely as a river crossing is like describing the Sagrada Familia solely as a church. The description is accurate. It entirely misses the point. The Twist is a bridge that rotates 90 degrees along its length. It spans 60 meters, approximately 200 feet, across the Ranselva River, connecting 2 sections of the Kistifos Sculpture Park on opposite banks. As visitors walk from one end to the other, the floor, walls, and ceiling of the structure gradually rotate around them. What begins as floor is ceiling by the end. What begins as a right angle to the bank is an entirely different orientation at the midpoint and a different orientation again at the far end. The crossing is approximately 60 meters long. The full structural rotation is 90 degrees. The spatial disorientation produced by this geometry is not metaphorical. It is physical, immediate, and for many visitors, genuinely difficult to process while walking through it. The design by Bjarke Ingels Group, the Danish architecture firm, was driven by a practical engineering problem presented by the terrain. The two banks of the Transalpina at this location sit at different elevations. A conventional horizontal bridge would require one end to be lower than the other, producing a ramp. The twist responds to this elevation difference through rotation. By twisting the structure, the floor and the structural members absorb the level change as a gradual transition rather than an abrupt grade. The geometry is the solution. The disorientation is the byproduct. The exhibition spaces that occupy the bridge interior, the twist functions simultaneously as a crossing, a gallery, and an architectural experience, are the context that makes the disorientation meaningful rather than merely confusing. The Castifos Museum is a sculpture park built around a former pulp mill, and it has become internationally recognized for the quality of its commissioned art and architecture. The twist, as both bridge and gallery, is the centerpiece, an object that you walk through and across simultaneously, that resolves an engineering problem through architectural boldness, and that delivers, on the other side, the specific pleasure of having your spatial comprehension briefly, productively disrupted. Not every bridge needs to be crossed in a straight line. When the Stonecutters Bridge opened in 2009, it connected Stonecutters Island to the Tsingyi area across Rambler Channel in one of the most logistically complex harbor environments in Asia. Two cable-stayed towers rise 298 meters from the water, among the tallest bridge towers in the world, supporting a main span of 118 meters across a deep-water channel that is at this location, one of the primary approaches to the Kawah Ijen container terminal. The world's busiest container port by annual throughput, the ships that pass beneath the Stonecutters Bridge are not the largest in the world, but they are among the most economically significant vessels whose schedules are measured in days and whose deviation from those schedules is measured in millions of dollars. The cable-stayed system of the Stonecutters Bridge incorporates an automatic cable adjustment mechanism, a real-time structural monitoring and response system that detects changes in cable tension caused by temperature variation, wind loading, and traffic patterns, and adjusts the cable geometry incrementally to maintain the intended structural configuration. The bridge is, in a meaningful sense, constantly correcting itself. The deck position that you drive across is not the deck position that was designed and installed at completion. It is the deck position that the monitoring system has continuously maintained through thousands of incremental adjustments over the years since opening. The visual disappearance of the towers into Hong Kong's harbor mist, a phenomenon documented by the bridge's management authority as a navigation concern for drivers approaching in low visibility, is not merely aesthetic. The steel gray of the tower surfaces against Hong Kong's frequent marine fog layer creates a contrast profile that can be insufficient for drivers to acquire a clear visual reference during approach. The Bridge Management Authority has installed additional lighting specifically to address this condition. Even so, drivers approaching in fog report the specific disorientation of seeing the bridge deck emerge from mist without being able to orient relative to the tower position, arriving at the bridge without the visual context that normal visibility provides. Bayburt D915, Turkey, move your vehicle aside slowly, because on D915, hesitation can cost more than pride, it can cost your life. Stretching roughly 106 kilometers between Ov and Bayburt in northeastern Turkey, this road hides a section so infamous that experienced drivers still whisper about it, the Derebashi Bends. 29 savage hairpin turns carved directly into a near-vertical mountainside, not engineered for comfort, not designed for forgiveness, simply carved into existence. The climb begins quietly, asphalt gives way to rougher surface, the air grows thinner, then suddenly, the mountain reveals its true personality. The gradient pushes towards 17%. The road narrows, and the guardrails disappear. There are none. On your left, a raw rock wall. On your right, a cliff that drops hundreds of meters into a valley so deep it looks painted. There is no shoulder, no runoff area. If your tire crosses that invisible boundary, gravity does the rest. Large trucks approaching a bend often cannot complete the turn in one motion. They must stop mid-corner, reverse, adjust, try again, all while balanced above open space. Now imagine meeting one of those trucks head-on. One of you must reverse, sometimes for dozens of meters, sometimes more, and every meter backward feels like a negotiation with fate. Weather turns this into something even darker. Fog rolls in without warning from the Black Sea region. Visibility collapses to a few meters. Rain transforms gravel into sludge. In winter, ice coats the incline, and traction becomes a luxury. Engines scream climbing upward. Radiators overheat. Brakes burn descending. If you rely too heavily on braking, they fade. If you don't brake enough, momentum pulls you forward toward the abyss. Drivers describe it the same way, heart pounding, eyes locked on the road, refusing to glance right. Because once you look into that drop, your brain starts imagining what falling would feel like. D915 is not famous because it is beautiful. It is famous because it feels unfinished by nature, like the mountain never agreed to let humans pass. And every time someone makes it through, it feels less like a commute and more like surviving a challenge issued by the earth itself. Fairy Meadows Road, Pakistan. If a road could whisper a warning, this one would scream. Fairy Meadows Road stretches only about 16 kilometers from Rakot Bridge toward the base of Nanga Parbat, the Killer Mountain. 16 kilometers doesn't sound terrifying until you see it. The journey begins with a sharp climb from the Karakoram Highway. Within minutes, pavement disappears. What replaces it is a narrow, jagged track carved directly into a vertical mountainside. No asphalt, no guardrails, no forgiveness. The road is barely wide enough for a single jeep. On one side, a rough rock wall. On the other, a drop so deep it feels endless. Hundreds of meters down, the Indus River cuts through the valley like a thin silver blade. There are no marked lanes, no reflectors, no protective barriers, just dust, loose stones, and raw exposure. If you meet another vehicle, the real test begins. One driver must reverse, sometimes for dozens, sometimes hundreds of meters, balancing inches from the cliff edge until a slightly wider patch appears. And reversing here is not like reversing in a parking lot. Your mirrors show nothing but sky and emptiness. Engines strain climbing toward 3,300 meters. Radiators heat up, brakes groan descending. The surface shifts constantly under the tires. Gravel slides, rocks break loose. After rain, mud turns sections into slippery traps. In dry weather, dust clouds blind visibility, forcing drivers to rely on memory of where the edge should be. There are moments when the road narrows so much that even breathing feels risky. One misjudged tire placement, one distracted second. Gravity waits silently, and yet this road leads to one of the most beautiful landscapes on Earth. Snow-covered Nanga Parbat rises above like a frozen titan. That contrast is what makes it unforgettable. Paradise at the end, but terror on the way. Driving Fairy Meadows Road is not tourism. It's a controlled negotiation with the mountain. Guoliang Tunnel Road. China, some roads are engineered. This one was carved by desperation. Hidden deep within the Taihang Mountains, the Guoliang Tunnel Road was not built by machines. It was carved by 13 villagers using hammers and chisels. For 5 long years, they attacked solid rock, meter by meter, because their village was completely cut off from the outside world. Before this tunnel existed, the only access was a vertical stone staircase known as the Sky Ladder. One slip meant certain death, so they decided to carve through the mountain itself. The result is a 1.2-kilometer tunnel blasted directly into a cliff face, roughly 4 meters wide and about 5 meters high, barely enough for 2 small vehicles to squeeze past each other. But this isn't a smooth, modern tunnel. The walls are raw rock. The surface is uneven. Sharp edges protrude in places. Natural light enters through large rectangular openings carved into the cliff, dramatic windows that reveal a vertical drop hundreds of meters below. When you drive through, your headlights bounce off jagged stone. The road surface vibrates beneath the tires. There are blind curves inside the tunnel itself. No bright lane markings, no modern ventilation system humming overhead, just stone. Outside the tunnel, the road clings to the cliff with minimal barriers. Some sections rely on simple concrete edges. Others feel exposed, as if the mountain could reclaim the path at any moment. Rainwater seeps through cracks in the ceiling. In winter, ice forms in unpredictable patches. Fog can roll across the cliffside, reducing visibility to almost nothing. And yet, this road stands as a testament to human willpower, but that doesn't make it safe. Driving Guoliang feels like moving through the mountain's spine, as if you're inside something ancient and powerful. One misjudged turn, one distracted second, and the same mountain that allowed passage could take it back. Skeleton Coast, Namibia. There are coastlines. And then there is Skeleton Coast, one of the most desolate, hauntingly beautiful, and lethally unforgiving stretches of shoreline anywhere on the planet. A place where two of Earth's most extreme environments, the hyperarid Namib Desert and the freezing South Atlantic Ocean, collide in a landscape of savage, spectacular contradiction. The Skeleton Coast stretches for nearly 500 kilometers along the northwestern edge of Namibia. It was named, with grim accuracy, for the whale and seal bones that once littered its beaches in the age of industrial whaling, and for the thousands of shipwrecks that have piled up along its treacherous shores over the centuries. The currents here are among the most dangerous in the world. The Benguela Current drives cold Antarctic water northward along the coast, creating dense, blinding fog that rolls in from the sea with almost no warning and can reduce visibility to near zero within minutes. Countless ships, navigating by dead reckoning through the fog, have been driven into the shallows and destroyed. Their rusting hulks still lie there today, some half buried in advancing sand dunes, others resting almost intact on the beach, as if the sea simply placed them there and walked away. The dunes of the Skeleton Coast are extraordinary in themselves. Some rise to over 300 feet, rust-red, iron-barren mountains of sand that plunge directly into the surf without so much as a strip of beach between them. The boundary here between desert and ocean is not gradual. It is absolute. One step you are in the world's oldest desert, the next you are in the ocean, and yet, against every expectation, life thrives here. The same Benguela Current that wrecks ships also drives an upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water from the deep ocean, one of the most productive marine environments on Earth. The ocean is teeming with fish, squid, and marine mammals. Massive Cape fur seal colonies, some containing hundreds of thousands of individuals, pack the beaches in dense, roaring, pungent masses. Brown hyenas and black-backed jackals prowl the shoreline, scavenging seal pups and any marine creature the tide deposits. And most remarkably of all, desert-adapted elephants range through this landscape, the only elephants on Earth that have evolved to survive in true desert conditions, capable of going 5 days without water. Covering distances of up to 70 kilometers a day in search of the underground springs and isolated riverbeds where moisture can be found. The mist that rolls in from the Benguela also sustains a remarkable community of fog-adapted organisms, insects that harvest moisture from the air, lichens that cling to the rocks in dense, colorful crusts, welwitschia plants that live for 2,000 years without significant rainfall, drawing all their water from the coastal fog alone. This is a coast of death and abundance, desolation and life, a place where the contradiction is the entire point. Beautiful, brutal, unlike anywhere else. Karakoram Highway, Pakistan. This is not just a highway. It's a statement carved into the spine of the earth. The Karakoram Highway, often called the eighth wonder of the world, stretches over 1,300 kilometers, connecting Pakistan to China through some of the most brutal terrain on the planet. It climbs toward the Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Pass at 4,693 meters above sea level. At this altitude, even breathing feels heavier. Massive peaks over 7,000 meters surround you, Rakaposhi, Pasu cones, and countless unnamed giants of rock and ice. You feel small here, insignificant. The road itself cuts through unstable mountain faces that are constantly shifting. Landslides are not rare events, they are expected. Entire sections have been buried overnight. Some stretches hug the Indus River so closely that the roaring water feels like it's racing beside your tires. On one side, vertical cliffs. On the other, a drop into glacial rivers that show no mercy. Heavy trucks loaded with cargo crawl uphill, engines gasping for oxygen in the thin air. Drivers must rely on engine braking during descent because overusing the brakes on such long slopes can cause catastrophic failure. Weather changes rapidly. Clear skies can turn into violent storms. Snow can fall even when the calendar says summer. There are tunnels now in certain sections, but many stretches remain exposed to falling rock. You might see debris scattered across the asphalt, silent reminders of the mountain's constant movement. At high altitude, vehicles lose power. Overtaking becomes dangerous. Judging distance becomes harder. Even small mechanical problems feel amplified. And yet, thousands travel it daily. The Karakoram Highway is beautiful in a way that feels almost aggressive, like nature showing its dominance. Driving it doesn't feel like crossing a country. It feels like crossing a frontier between human ambition and geological power. Horsetail Fall, California. For approximately 10 days every February, something happens on the eastern face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park that stops people in their tracks. A waterfall that falls every year in the same place suddenly appears to be made of molten lava. Welcome to Firefall, nature's most spectacular trick of light. Horsetail Fall is not an unusual waterfall by Yosemite's breathtaking standards. It drops approximately 1,000 feet down the sheer granite face of El Capitan, fed by snowmelt from the high plateau above. It flows mainly in winter and early spring, and for most of that time, it is simply beautiful. But for one extraordinary window each February, when the angle of the setting sun aligns with perfect precision against the granite cliff and the falling water, something magical happens. The waterfall glows, not gold, not yellow, but a deep, pulsing, liquid orange, identical in color and appearance to a river of molten lava cascading down the face of the mountain. The phenomenon requires an almost impossible alignment of conditions. The snowpack above must be sufficient to keep the fall running. A dry winter means no water and no display. The skies above the valley must be completely clear at sunset. A single cloud at the critical moment will block the light entirely. And the sun must be at precisely the right low angle that occurs only for a narrow window around the 10th to 20th of February each year. When all three conditions meet, the light strikes the falling water and the wet granite simultaneously, creating an optical transformation that turns white mist into living flame. The glow typically lasts less than 10 minutes. It builds slowly as the sun descends, the water warming from silver to gold to amber to a deep, volcanic orange, and then fades quickly as the sun drops below the valley rim. For those 10 minutes, thousands of photographers stand shoulder to shoulder on the valley meadow, cameras aimed upward, barely breathing. The competition for the perfect shot has become one of the most intense in nature photography. Photographers stake out positions hours before sunset, carry telephoto lenses capable of filling a frame with the waterfall from 800 meters away, and study weather forecasts obsessively in the weeks leading up to the event. A clear February evening in Yosemite Valley during Firefall season means the meadow will be packed, yet the sight is so stunning that even the crowd disappears when the glow begins. Unlike Hawaii's actual lava or Iceland's volcanic rivers, Horsetail Fall contains not a drop of heat, not a molecule of magma. It is purely water, purely light, purely a trick of geometry and atmosphere. Yet it looks more like lava than any photograph of actual lava. It is nature at its most deceptive and most breathtaking. This is not just a waterfall. This is the mountain catching fire once a year, just long enough to leave you changed. Skipper's Canyon Road, New Zealand. Some roads were never meant for modern vehicles. Skipper's Canyon Road feels like one of them. Carved in the 1880s during the Gold Rush, this narrow gravel track clings to the cliffs above the Shotover River in New Zealand. It was originally blasted out by hand long before cars even existed, and it still feels that way. The road is barely wide enough for a single vehicle in many sections. There are no proper guardrails, no generous shoulders, just raw rock on one side and a vertical drop on the other. Hundreds of meters down, the Shotover River cuts through the canyon like a blade. When two vehicles meet, the tension spikes instantly. One driver must reverse, sometimes along a curve, carefully inching backward toward the cliff edge until a slightly wider section appears. The surface is mostly loose gravel and dirt. After rain, it transforms into a slippery trap. Tires lose traction. Steering feels uncertain. Small slides become big consequences. Tour buses still attempt this route. Imagine meeting one on a blind corner, its massive body filling the entire track. Insurance companies in New Zealand often include clauses voiding coverage if you drive here. That tells you everything. There are sections where the rock wall leans inward, scraping mirrors if you misjudge distance. Other parts feel exposed, as if the road is balancing on nothing. No barriers to save you, no runoff space to recover, just canyon, air, and gravity. Driving Skipper's Canyon isn't about speed. It's about precision under pressure, and every successful crossing feels less like a commute and more like escaping a trap carved into stone. Nawabpur Road, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Not every dangerous road hangs off a mountain. Some are dangerous because of chaos. Nawabpur Road in Old Dhaka doesn't intimidate you with cliffs or altitude. It overwhelms you with density. This is one of the busiest mechanical and electrical trading hubs in Bangladesh, and the traffic here moves like a living organism. The road is narrow, but thousands of vehicles attempt to claim it at once. Rickshaws, motorcycles, delivery vans, handcarts loaded with iron pipes, gas cylinders, heavy generators, all squeezing through gaps that barely exist. There are moments when movement stops entirely, not because of traffic lights, but because the road physically cannot contain any more vehicles. Now imagine driving through this in 40 degrees C heat. Engines overheat, tempers rise, horns never stop. The noise becomes constant pressure against your skull. Porters push massive loads by hand, weaving through moving vehicles. Long metal rods extend into traffic unpredictably. Electrical wires hang overhead in tangled networks. One small spark in this environment, filled with flammable goods, could trigger disaster. Unlike mountain roads where danger comes from falling, here danger comes from unpredictability. A pedestrian steps into your path without warning. A motorcycle squeezes between your mirror and a truck's body. A delivery cart suddenly reverses. There is no structured flow, only negotiation. Brakes are used constantly. Reaction time must be instant. Even a small collision can escalate quickly because there is no space to absorb impact. And psychologically, the pressure is relentless. No silence, no open space, no breathing room. Nawabpur Road proves that danger doesn't always come from nature. Sometimes it comes from human density pushed beyond its limits. Meteor Crater, Arizona, United States. 50,000 years ago, a piece of space rock traveling at roughly 26,000 miles per hour entered Earth's atmosphere above what is now the northern Arizona desert. It was approximately 160 feet in diameter and composed almost entirely of iron-nickel metal, a dense, heavy, almost inconceivably tough object that punched through the atmosphere in seconds and struck the desert floor before any living creature within range had time to react. The explosion was equivalent to approximately 10 megatons of TNT, 600 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It vaporized the meteorite itself almost completely. And it left behind a hole in the desert that we still visit today, still perfectly preserved, still almost exactly as the impact left it. Barring a meteor crater, also known as Meteor Crater, or scientifically as the Canyon Diablo Crater, is the best-preserved meteorite impact crater on Earth. It measures approximately 3,900 feet across and 570 feet deep, with a raised rim that stands 150 feet above the surrounding desert floor. The crater is large enough to contain a full-size sports stadium on its floor with room to spare, looking down from the rim into the bowl below. The sense of scale is initially deceptive. The crater appears almost manageable until you spot the small model astronaut placed on the opposite rim by the visitor center, barely visible as a dot, and realize just how enormous the depression actually is. The crater's extraordinary preservation is due entirely to the extreme aridity of the Arizona desert. In wetter climates, erosion from rain, ice, and vegetation would have softened and degraded the crater's sharp features over thousands of years. Here, the rainfall is so low, typically under 8 inches per year, and the temperatures so extreme that the rock has barely changed since the moment of impact. The rim, the walls, and the floor of the crater remain crisp, geometrically precise, and geologically immediate, as if the impact happened within living memory rather than 50 millennia ago. The crater played a crucial role in the development of planetary science. When it was first studied seriously in the early 20th century, the prevailing scientific opinion held that all craters, including those on the Moon, were volcanic in origin. Barring a crater was the site where that consensus was overturned. The discovery of mineral forms, shocked quartz and coesite, that can only be produced by the extreme pressures of an instantaneous impact, provided irrefutable evidence that craters could be created by collisions, not just by volcanic activity. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of the Moon's surface, the history of Mars, and the role of impacts in shaping all planetary bodies in the solar system. Small fragments of the Canyon Diablo meteorite, the one that created this crater, are still found scattered across the surrounding desert. You can hold a piece of the meteorite in the visitor center, cold, impossibly dense, dark iron gray, older than the Earth itself. Space, crystallized and placed in your hand. The crater it left is a permanent reminder that the universe has always reached down to touch our world, and that sometimes that touch is violent beyond imagination. Los Caracoles Pass, Chile, Argentina. From above, it looks like a spiral carved into the Andes. Los Caracoles, meaning the snails, earns its name from the tight, stacked hairpin bends that coil up the mountainside near the Chile-Argentina border. Located at over 3,000 meters above sea level, this pass is a crucial connection between the two countries. But crossing it feels like climbing a concrete staircase into thin air. The bends are relentless, one after another, each nearly 180 degrees. Drivers must slow drastically, then accelerate uphill again, repeating the cycle dozens of times. Heavy container trucks dominate this route. Now imagine one of those massive vehicles attempting a tight hairpin on a steep incline. Engines strain, gears grind, brakes heat up. In winter, snow blankets the road. Ice forms silently in shaded corners. Chains are often required. Strong Andean winds push against tall vehicles, threatening balance mid-turn. Guardrails exist in many areas, but not all. And even where barriers stand, they are no guarantee against the weight of a fully loaded freight truck losing braking power. Traffic congestion adds pressure. When one vehicle struggles on a climb or experiences mechanical failure, the entire pass can become gridlocked. Descending is equally intense. Brake management is critical. Overheat them on the long downhill curves, and stopping becomes increasingly difficult. Visibility can drop suddenly due to fog or snowfall. A hairpin that seemed manageable minutes ago becomes a slippery trap. Los Caracoles is not a road you cruise casually. It demands rhythm, precision, mechanical awareness, and every turn reminds you that gravity is always waiting. Route 500, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. On a map, it looks harmless. Route 500 in Newfoundland and Labrador stretches through vast forests and isolated terrain. It's long, remote, and deceptively calm, but remoteness creates its own kind of danger. This highway cuts through wildlife territory. Moose collisions here are not rare incidents, they are a serious threat. Adult moose can weigh over 500 kilograms, and their height means impact often shatters windshields directly at driver level. Now imagine driving at night. Street lighting is minimal across long stretches. Fog rolls in from coastal areas. In winter, snowstorms arrive suddenly. Black ice forms silently across the asphalt. There are sections where fuel stations are dozens of kilometers apart. Cellular service drops without warning. If a vehicle breaks down in freezing temperatures, help may not come quickly. Temperatures can plunge far below zero. Engines struggle to start. Batteries fail. Tires harden in extreme cold, reducing grip. And then there is monotony. Long, straight stretches through dense forest can lull drivers into a false sense of security. Fatigue builds quietly. Reaction time slows. Suddenly, headlights reflect off two towering legs in the darkness. At highway speed, there is almost no time to respond. Route 500 is not dramatic. It doesn't hang off cliffs or twist through mountain passes. Its danger hides in silence, isolation, wildlife, weather, and the realization that in some places you are very, very alone. $1 Million Highway, USA. Colorado's $1 Million Highway, stretching from Silverton to Ouray, is one of the most dangerous roads in the United States. The name suggests wealth, but the price is your nerves. Carved into the San Juan Mountains, it clings to sheer cliffs, where every turn exposes you to vertical drops hundreds of meters below. The road has minimal guardrails in many stretches, leaving drivers exposed to gravity's relentless pull. Winter transforms the highway into a frozen gauntlet. Ice coats shaded corners, snowstorms strike without warning, and avalanches can bury sections of road in seconds. Trucks loaded with goods navigate steep hairpins with extreme caution, engines straining against the inclines, brakes tested on every descent. Drivers face constant tension, oncoming vehicles, sharp bends, and blind curves. Mist can envelop the road, reducing visibility to just a few meters, while narrow lanes leave no margin for error. Even experienced drivers must reverse through hairpins to allow opposing traffic to pass. The highway is also psychologically brutal. Each turn demands focus, every drop visible through sparse guardrails amplifies fear, and the wind at higher elevations threatens control. Yet the views are mesmerizing: jagged peaks, snow-capped summits, and valleys shrouded in fog. Here, beauty and danger intertwine. For truckers, tourists, and locals, the $1 Million Highway is a necessity, but also a battlefield where mistakes can be fatal. It tests mechanical skill, human endurance, and the mental fortitude to face a road that seems to defy safety. One misjudgment can send a vehicle plummeting, and even the most cautious driver knows that survival depends on constant vigilance, respect for the mountains, and nerves of steel. Blue Fire Volcano, Indonesia. There is a volcano in East Java that burns blue. Not the familiar orange and red of conventional fire, not the yellow of burning sulfur in daylight, but a cold, electric, vivid blue that crawls across the crater floor like neon light pools in cracks and crevices, and flows in slow rivers down the inner slopes of the crater wall. It is one of the rarest fire phenomena on Earth, and it is as beautiful as it is dangerous. Kawah Ijen, the White Crater, sits at 2,799 meters above sea level in the Ijen volcanic complex of East Java, Indonesia. The mountain is part of an active volcanic chain, and its summit crater contains one of the most acidic lakes in the world, a turquoise-green body of water so chemically aggressive that its pH level approaches zero. The lake is approximately 200 meters wide and over 60 meters deep, and its surface temperature ranges between 85 and 170 degrees Celsius. Into this lake drain the hydrothermal vents that line the inner crater walls, vents that emit a continuous stream of high-temperature volcanic gases, primarily sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. It is these gases that create the blue fire. As the sulfuric gases emerge from the vents at temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Celsius, they immediately combust on contact with the oxygen in the surrounding air. Normal sulfur burns yellow-orange. But at these extreme temperatures, and at the density at which the gases emerge from Ijen's vents, the combustion produces blue and violet flames that can reach up to 5 meters in height. The effect is most dramatic at night, when the ambient light is low enough for the blue luminosity to dominate, transforming the crater into an otherworldly spectacle of electric blue rivers flowing across a darkened volcanic landscape. Visiting Ijen to witness the blue fire requires a significant commitment. The trek to the crater rim begins at 1 a.m. to ensure arrival before dawn. The blue fire is visible in the darkness, but begins to disappear in the diffuse light of pre-dawn. The path is steep, the air is cold at altitude, and the last section to the rim is on loose volcanic gravel. From the rim, guides lead those who choose to descend into the crater itself, a demanding scramble down steep, unstable slopes into a valley thick with sulfuric gas. Respiratory protection is essential. Even with masks, the concentration of hydrogen sulfide near the vents can be overwhelming. Here, in this toxic, beautiful inferno, work the sulfur miners of Kawah Ijen, men who descend into the crater every night and every morning to harvest yellow sulfur that crystallizes at the vent openings. Breaking it free with iron bars and loading it into rattan baskets that they carry out on their shoulders. Each load weighs between 70 and 100 kilograms. Each man makes this journey 2 to 3 times per day. They earn roughly $1 per kilogram, among the hardest earned wages anywhere on the planet. The blue fire of Kawah Ijen is beautiful. The men who work beside it are extraordinary. Guoliang Tunnel Road, China. Guoliang Tunnel Road is a living testament to human determination. Carved by villagers into the Taihang Mountains over 5 years, this narrow tunnel clings to the cliffside with sheer drops below. The tunnel is uneven, jagged, and dangerously narrow, often requiring precision driving to avoid scraping walls or falling into the abyss. Openings along the cliff offer dizzying views hundreds of meters straight down. Vehicles passing in opposite directions must squeeze past carefully, sometimes reversing long distances to allow each other through. Inside, minimal lighting adds tension, turning every passage into a test of nerves. Weather exacerbates the danger. Rain makes surfaces slick, and landslides threaten access. One misstep, one distracted moment, and a vehicle can tumble into the void. Yet despite its peril, the road is essential for local travel, connecting isolated communities to the rest of the world. Driving Guoliang Tunnel Road is a battle of focus and patience. It forces respect for the mountain and the ingenuity of those who carved it by hand. Every journey becomes a story of survival, courage, and awe at the sheer audacity of human will. Transfiguration Highway, Transalpina, Romania. The Transalpina Highway stretches across Romania's Carpathians, winding along steep mountainsides with continuous hairpins. Viewed from above, it resembles a ribbon of silk, but behind the wheel, it is a relentless test of nerves. Weather is unpredictable. Sunshine at the base can turn into fog, wind, or summer snow near the summit. Guardrails are minimal, and curves are tight, demanding constant attention. Livestock can appear suddenly, forcing abrupt braking. Every kilometer is a high-stakes game of focus, skill, and endurance. The Transalpina combines beauty and danger, where one misjudgment can result in disaster. It is a road that demands respect and rewards vigilance. Aurora Borealis, Arctic Circle. Some phenomena exist at the intersection of science and magic, where the explanation is as extraordinary as the experience itself. The Aurora Borealis belongs entirely in that category. It is the most spectacular light show on the planet, and it is powered by the sun itself. The Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, appears when charged particles ejected from the sun during solar wind events travel 93 million miles through space and enter Earth's atmosphere near the magnetic poles. As these particles collide with gas molecules at altitudes between 60 and 200 miles above the surface, they excite those molecules to a higher energy state. When the molecules return to their normal state, they release that energy as light. Different gases produce different colors. Oxygen at high altitudes creates rare crimson and purple displays. Oxygen at lower altitudes produces the most common vivid green. Nitrogen produces blues and violet. The result is curtains, ribbons, and waves of color that stretch across hundreds of miles of sky and move with a fluid, hypnotic grace that defies description. No photograph fully captures the aurora. The human eye, adapted for low light, perceives the colors differently from a camera sensor, often seeing the green component far more intensely and sensing the motion in a way that no still image can convey. The experience is fundamentally kinetic. The lights shift, they pulse. They explode outward from a central point, fold in on themselves, ripple like a silk curtain in a breeze, and then, without warning, vanish entirely, leaving a black sky as if nothing had happened. The best locations to witness the aurora are the regions that sit directly beneath the auroral oval, the ring-shaped zone of maximum activity that circles both magnetic poles. In the north, this includes northern Norway, Iceland, the Faroe Islands, northern Finland, Swedish Lapland, Alaska, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Tromsø in Norway is perhaps the most famous aurora destination, offering a combination of reliable aurora forecasts, accessible infrastructure, and spectacular fjord landscapes that frame the display. In Abisko, Sweden, a unique local microclimate creates unusually clear skies even when cloud cover dominates the surrounding region. The optimal conditions for aurora viewing are precise. Maximum solar activity, which follows an 11-year cycle, and peaked most recently around 2024-2025 clear dark skies far from urban light pollution. And the long polar nights of midwinter, which provide up to 20 hours of darkness per day for the lights to display against. Ancient cultures across the Arctic had no scientific framework for what they were seeing, and their explanations were correspondingly magnificent. The Norse saw the aurora as the light reflected from the shields of the Valkyries riding across the sky. Indigenous peoples of northern Canada described the lights as the spirits of the dead playing games. The Finnish believed the aurora was a celestial fox running across the heavens, its tail brushing sparks from the mountaintops. The science behind the lights is extraordinary, but so is the feeling, standing in the frozen dark, watching color pour across the sky, that you are seeing something sacred. D915 Bayburt of Turkey. The D915, winding through Turkey's Bayburt and of regions, is a road that feels alive with danger. Carved into the Pontic Mountains, this road is narrow, steep, and full of sharp hairpins that twist and coil around cliffs, as if daring you to lose control. One stretch, the infamous Derabash Vera section, boasts 29 hairpin bends in just a few kilometers, some so tight that trucks and buses must reverse multiple times to complete the turn. The landscape is merciless. On one side, sheer rock walls rise abruptly. On the other, vertical drops descend hundreds of meters into misty valleys. Guardrails are rare or non-existent, offering no comfort. Rain and snow transform the already treacherous gravel and asphalt into a slippery hazard. Landslides are common, debris can appear suddenly, and fog often reduces visibility to just a few meters. Driving here is a psychological challenge. Each bend demands full concentration, each descent is a fight against gravity, and every passing vehicle becomes a potential nightmare. Locals know the road intimately, but even seasoned drivers respect its peril. Despite the danger, D915 is a lifeline for remote villages, connecting communities that would otherwise be isolated. The reward is breathtaking views, jagged peaks, winding rivers, and valleys far below, but beauty comes with risk. One wrong gear shift, a delayed brake, or a moment of distraction can be catastrophic. Here, courage and caution must coexist in perfect harmony. D915 Bayburt is not just a road, it is a crucible demanding skill, nerve, and respect. Every journey through it is a story of survival, a battle between human will and nature's raw force, leaving those who traverse it forever aware of the fine line between life and disaster. Passage du Gois, France. Passage du Gois is a road unlike any other on Earth. This 412 km causeway connects Noirmoutier Island to mainland France, but its danger comes from the tides. Twice a day, the Atlantic Ocean swallows it entirely, leaving only a narrow window for crossing. If you mistime your journey, your car can become a temporary submarine in waters up to 4 meters deep. The surface is slippery, covered with green moss and mud that conceals potholes and uneven patches. Even on a clear day, waves can crash onto the asphalt, threatening vehicles with sudden, unexpected force. Locals respect it, but tourists often underestimate the timing and risk. The psychological pressure is immense. Every second counts, hesitation can be fatal. Drivers must calculate tides precisely, monitor water levels, and navigate the slick causeway with unwavering focus. One misjudgment, and the vehicle can be carried away by the rising water. Passage du Gois is a unique combination of natural danger and precision. It's not long, but it demands absolute attention, courage, and respect for the unpredictable ocean. Every crossing becomes a high-stakes test of nerve and timing, leaving a lasting impression on those brave enough to attempt it. Rohtang Pass, India. Rohtang Pass, at roughly 3,978 meters above sea level, connects Manali to the Lahaul-Spiti region and is notorious for accidents and harsh conditions. The road winds through hundreds of hairpin bends, many so narrow that 2 vehicles cannot pass simultaneously, and a sheer cliff drops into nothingness beside every turn. Weather is a constant adversary. Heavy snowfall, landslides, and sudden rain transform the road into mud or ice. Vehicles struggle for traction, and overconfidence is often punished with loss of control. Traffic congestion has worsened in recent years, creating hours-long jams where vehicles inch forward along narrow, dangerous stretches. Psychologically, Rohtang tests nerve and focus. Drivers must anticipate slides, reverse carefully around blind bends, and manage brakes and gears under extreme stress. Despite its beauty, snow-capped peaks, glacial rivers, and alpine valleys, the pass commands respect and caution. Rohtang Pass is a trial of skill, endurance, and courage. One lapse can be fatal, and every journey demands maximum attention. For drivers, it is a combination of awe and anxiety, where natural beauty and mortal danger coexist in every bend. Lava pouring into the ocean, Kilauea volcano, Hawaii imagines standing at the edge of the world, where the planet's oldest force meets its most powerful, where fire plunges into the sea and the Earth itself is born before your eyes. Deep on the southeastern coast of Hawaii's Big Island, Kilauea volcano, one of the most continuously active volcanoes on the planet, unleashes rivers of molten lava that pour directly into the cold embrace of the Pacific Ocean. The temperature of this lava exceeds 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The ocean doesn't simply absorb it, it fights back. The collision is instant, explosive, and utterly spectacular. Massive billowing clouds of steam, called lays, explode upward hundreds of feet into the air, lit from within by the orange glow of the molten rock still pouring beneath. The sound alone is overwhelming, a constant hiss and roar that reverberates across the coastline like the planet breathing. But the beauty hides something dangerous. Lays isn't just steam. It's a toxic cocktail of hydrochloric acid and microscopic glass particles, shards formed when lava shatters in the rapid cooling of the sea. The air shimmers with a lethal mist that can damage lungs in minutes. Scientists who study this process wear respirators and stand at a measured distance, watching with awe and caution in equal measure. And yet, this destruction is also creation. Each time lava meets the ocean, new land is born. The Big Island of Hawaii is literally growing, inch by inch, year by year, pushed outward by this relentless geological engine. It is the only place on Earth where you can watch an island being born in real time. The black lava shelves that jut out into the turquoise sea are brand new land that did not exist a decade ago. In Hawaiian spiritual tradition, this spectacle belongs to Pele, the goddess of volcanoes, fire, and creation. She is said to live within Kilauea's caldera, and her tears are the lava flows that shape the islands. To witness lava entering the sea is to witness Pele herself reaching out to claim the ocean, to expand her domain, to build something eternal from something violent. Scientists describe this ongoing process as a direct window into Earth's earliest days, a living recreation of how the Hawaiian archipelago, and indeed many of the world's islands, first emerged from beneath the waves hundreds of millions of years ago. Every plunge of glowing lava, every eruption of steam, every new ridge of hardened basalt is a page in the planet's origin story, written in real time. To stand at the shoreline and watch fire meet the sea, to feel the heat on your face and hear the roar of creation, is to experience something no camera can fully capture. It is raw, primal, and profoundly humbling. This is not just a natural wonder. This is the planet being born right in front of you. Giant waves, Nazare, Portugal. There is a place on the Atlantic coast of Portugal where the ocean does something that should not be possible, where waves rise to heights that seem to belong to another planet entirely, where surfers risk their lives for a single, fleeting, terrifying ride. That place is Nazare, and it is the most extreme wave environment on Earth. The waves at Nazare regularly exceed 80 feet. During the most powerful winter storms, they have been measured at over 100 feet, the equivalent of a 10-story building rising, curling, and crashing with the force of a natural disaster. The sound of a single wave breaking at Nazare can be heard from miles inland. The shockwave through the ground is felt in the chests of spectators standing on the cliffs above. The secret lies beneath the ocean surface. Running directly offshore from Nazare is the Nazare Canyon, a submarine trench that plunges to a depth of over 16,000 feet, making it one of the deepest underwater canyons in the world. When Atlantic swells travel across thousands of miles of open ocean and hit this canyon, they are funneled, compressed, and amplified. Energy that would normally spread across a wide ocean floor is forced upward through a narrow geological channel, stacking the water higher and higher until it breaks on the surface as something almost supernatural. Winter is when Nazare becomes truly dangerous. From October through March, the North Atlantic generates storm swells that travel uninterrupted from as far away as Iceland and Greenland. By the time they reach the canyon, they carry the accumulated energy of an entire ocean. Surfers from around the world, the most fearless and skilled big wave riders alive, travel to Nazare specifically for these conditions. They are towed into position by jet skis, released at the critical moment, and then ride waves moving at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. There are no safety nets. A wipeout at Nazare can mean being held underwater through 2 or 3 consecutive waves, 3 to 5 minutes without air, while being dragged and rolled by forces equivalent to a truck crash. And yet they come. Because there is nothing else like it on Earth. Because Nazare represents the outer edge of what a human being can do on a surfboard. The records set here are not just surfing records, they are human records. Spectators crowd the clifftop at Praia do Norte, wrapped in rain gear, gripping the railings, gasping and screaming as each massive wave rises, peaks, and crashes. Many visitors weep, not from fear, but from the sheer overwhelming scale of what they are witnessing. This is nature at its most violent and most beautiful. This is the ocean reminding the world that it has never been tamed. Frying Pan Lake. Imagine a lake that boils, not metaphorically, not gently. A lake that simmers, steams, and bubbles constantly. A body of water so hot, so geothermally active, so alive with the raw energy of the planet beneath it, that it earned its name from the cooking vessel it most closely resembles. Welcome to Frying Pan Lake, the largest hot spring on Earth. Frying Pan Lake sits within the Wamingu Volcanic Valley on New Zealand's North Island, a landscape so geothermally active that the ground itself seems to breathe. The valley was created in June 1886 when Mount Tarawera erupted in one of the Southern Hemisphere's most catastrophic volcanic events of the modern era. A cataclysmic eruption that destroyed the famous pink and white terraces, killed over 150 people, and reshaped a vast area of the central North Island within a matter of hours. The explosion left behind a chain of craters and thermal features that have been evolving and expanding ever since. Frying Pan Lake occupies what was once Echo Crater, blown open by the Tarawera eruption and subsequently flooded by groundwater superheated by the volcanic system below. The lake spans approximately 38,000 square meters, easily the largest hot spring in the world. Its waters hover between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius at the surface, though near the hydrothermal vents on the lake floor, temperatures are far higher. The surface is in constant, restless motion, streams of bubbles rising from below, columns of steam ascending into the sky, waves of heat shimmering across the water in the cool morning air. From the viewing platforms at the lake's edge, the effect is mesmerizing and faintly menacing, as if the lake is alive and aware of your presence. The water is a pale, slightly milky blue-gray, colored by the silica and mineral content dissolved from the volcanic rock below. The shoreline is edged with bright orange, yellow, and white mineral deposits, silica sinter and sulfur compounds that coat the rocks in vivid chemical paint. The whole scene looks simultaneously beautiful and hostile, a reminder that beauty and danger are not mutually exclusive in the natural world. The valley surrounding the lake is equally extraordinary. Steaming cliffs, boiling streams, and hydrothermal craters line the walking tracks that wind through the valley. The Wamingu geyser, when it was active in the early 20th century, was the most powerful geyser ever recorded, shooting columns of water and rock to heights of over 450 meters. Though it no longer erupts, the thermal energy that powered it is still very much present beneath the valley floor. Wamingu as a whole is a geological laboratory unlike any other, young enough that scientists can study processes in real time that elsewhere would take millions of years to observe. At Frying Pan Lake, you are not simply looking at a geological feature. You are watching the Earth's interior revealed, simmering and restless just beneath your feet. Ice Volcano National Park, Kazakhstan. In winter, in the vast and frozen steppe of southeastern Kazakhstan, something rises from the ground that should not exist. A cone of ice, perfectly formed, up to 40 feet tall, with a crater at its summit from which warm water flows and mist drifts upward into the freezing air. It looks like a volcano. It behaves like a volcano. It glows in the winter sunlight like a lantern of translucent blue ice. But it is not built by heat, it is built by cold. The ice volcano of Altınoluk National Park, located in the foothills of the Dzungarian Alatau mountain range east of Almaty, is one of the rarest natural formations on Earth. The phenomenon begins deep underground, where natural mineral springs are fed by snowmelt filtering through the mountain rock above. This water, pressurized by the overlying geology, is forced upward through narrow fissures in the ground and emerges at the surface as a flowing spring. In summer, the spring simply flows across the ground, unremarkable, unnoticed. But as winter arrives and temperatures in the Kazakh steppe plunge to -20 and -30 degrees Celsius, the emerging water freezes almost the instant it hits the air. And here is the extraordinary part: the freezing is not random. The water builds up around the exit point of the spring in concentric layers, each outflow freezing over the last, adding height and mass with every passing day. The cone grows from the outside in, thickening layer by layer like a stalactite building in reverse, not downward, but upward and outward. As the outer layers freeze and seal, the pressure of the water beneath builds further, eventually forcing the water up through the center of the cone and out through the crater at the top, where it spills over the edge and adds another layer of ice. The result is a perfectly conical ice structure with a hollow core, technically more similar to a geyser cone than a true volcanic cone, but visually indistinguishable from a miniature volcano, complete with a steaming crater and flowing lava of water. When sunlight hits the structure, the ice reveals its interior, trapped bubbles, pale blue layers, the faint tracery of the water channels that built it. It glows from within like a paper lantern. The cone does not persist. Each spring, as temperatures rise, it melts back to nothing, leaving only the wet ground of the spring behind. Each autumn, as cold returns, it begins again. The same spring, the same process, the same impossible structure rebuilding itself in the same location, year after year, as reliably as the seasons themselves. Visiting the ice volcano requires a significant journey. Altanamel is remote even by Kazakh standards, and winter travel in the steppe demands serious preparation. But those who make the effort find something genuinely unique, a natural formation found in only a handful of locations worldwide, perfectly formed, perfectly temporary, and perfectly beautiful. The door to hell, Turkmenistan. In the middle of the Karakoram Desert in Turkmenistan, one of the world's most remote and least visited countries, a crater burns. It has been burning continuously since 1971. Its flames are visible from 40 kilometers away. At night, its orange glow reflects off the desert sand and the few clouds that pass overhead, creating a dome of light in the darkness that is visible, according to locals, from the windows of aircraft at cruising altitude. Travelers who encounter it for the first time consistently use the same word, hell. The Darvaza gas crater was not created by nature. It was created by human error, and then compounded by a decision that seemed logical at the time, but turned out to be one of the most dramatic miscalculations in the history of resource extraction. In 1971, Soviet geological engineers were drilling for natural gas in the desert when the ground beneath their drilling platform collapsed, creating a sinkhole approximately 70 meters wide and 30 meters deep. The collapse was caused by the drilling penetrating a large natural gas cavern, which gave way under the weight of the equipment. The engineers, concerned that the escaping methane, a potent greenhouse gas, would be dangerous to nearby villages and workers, made the decision to ignite it. They estimated the gas would burn off within a few weeks, after which the crater could be safely examined and the site rehabilitated. It is still burning. The crater has been on fire continuously for over 5 decades. The gas field beneath Darvaza is enormous. Far from exhausting itself within weeks, the methane reservoir has continued to feed the fire with no detectable reduction in intensity. The flames reach heights of up to 15 meters at the crater's edge. The heat at the rim is intense enough to make extended close-up observation uncomfortable. The smell of burning gas and sulfur permeates the air for miles downwind. At night, when the desert is cold and dark and completely silent, the crater is a genuinely otherworldly sight, a glowing, roaring pit of orange and yellow fire in the dead center of an ancient, featureless desert. The Turkmenistan government has made several announcements over the decades about extinguishing the crater, most recently issuing orders to do so in 2022. As of the latest reports, the crater continues to burn. Adventurous travelers make the long desert journey to camp beside the crater specifically for the nighttime experience, sitting in the cold desert air, close enough to feel the warmth, watching the fire move and shift. It is hypnotic, disturbing, and genuinely unlike any other experience the planet offers. A fire lit by accident that refused to stop. A reminder that the Earth contains reservoirs of energy so vast they can defeat human attempts to exhaust them. The door to hell is a mistake that became a monument, and it burns on,